With military sexual trauma survivors, they've been dealing with that blame, with that sense of betrayal. And for those that have come out and tried to share what they've gone through, for many of them, the military has let them down, making them more at risk for suicide or substance abuse. So the Wounded Warrior Project gives military sexual trauma survivors the ability to find their voice, their ability to connect with others, and to get that support to further on in their healing from MST.
Yes, you've reached Providence Regional Office from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Please leave me a message, and I'll return the call as soon as I'm able. Thank you.
Hi, Jamie. This is Jessica Coulter. I'm calling about my MST claim. On the claim, it might be Jessica Sims. I've been leaving you a couple of messages. I'm trying to find out what the status is. I need to find out, do I need to fill this paperwork out, or did you get my paperwork? Have they found my paperwork or scanned my paperwork so I know what I need to do? Please give me a call back. Thank you. I just want the VA to get the record straight, to say that this is the injury that I was caused. My first event with the Wounded Warrior Project, it was all female veterans. We started introducing ourselves. I kind of spoke up and I, told us like I was raped by another service member at my first duty station. And then another person chimed in and told her story. And then another person chimed in and told her story. And then another person chimed in. Out of the group, 3 or 4 had a military sexual trauma story. It needs to be talked about because it's happening at such a high rate. And I don't want anyone else to take 10 years of their life to suffer in silence. I love my kids, but sometimes it must be really hard for them to have me as mom. Are you buckled up, Manny? Because mom's not like other moms. We're gonna stop at the gas station. You each can scrub the windows. Manny does the front, Tyrone does the back. Manny does the left side, Tyrone does the right side. And they don't understand, what happened to me, or sometimes I just don't get out of my bed and they wanna go do stuff. I try to explain to them what post-traumatic stress disorder is, but it's not their problem. It's nothing to do with them, but it directly affects them. But to them, that's the only mom that they know. Are you kidding me? $50 didn't even fill up a tank. It's very difficult to get out of poverty where I'm from. So I appreciated the military because when I came home, I could do for my friends. I was very proud. All right, so do you know what you guys are getting at the creamery? But now it's really hard for me to keep a job because if I get really overwhelmed, I start having flashbacks, nightmares, not sleeping, which makes it difficult for me to be a good employee. And so making ends meet, it's creative.
My mom tries to give us what we want most of the time, but I feel kind of sad because I feel like we don't have any money at all, or we just don't have enough to do anything.
I was vacuuming, and there was a sock right there, and I pushed it really hard, and the sock got stuck in the motor, and the smoke started coming out from it, and our dryer doesn't work. So that's 2 things in our house that are really important that don't work, and that's a lot of money. And my mom doesn't have a lot of money right now.
Everyone in my family, like grandfathers, aunts, cousins, everyone's been in the military. That's how I chose the Air Force. I was a chaplain's assistant, and I literally worked with all men. So I think I did have to earn more respect. But after I kind of proved myself, it got a lot better. We were all co-ed living. They're barracks, but the Air Force calls them dormitories. Almost like a college atmosphere. So everyone's getting to know each other. We're all brand new to the base. There was drinking going on. And I was raped by a military police officer. I took myself to a clinic off base, got myself medically checked out by myself, and I just accepted that I set myself up and I was to blame for somebody taking something that's supposed to be consensual from me, because I did not give that man consent. For years, I was hyper aware of my surroundings. When I went places, I always had to scope out the exits. And over and over and over again, it was in the back of my head that you can't trust anyone, let alone a man. I knew I could never tell anybody because no one's going to believe me. It's going to be an investigation. I'm going to get an Article 15, drinking underage, and he's a military police officer. Like, they're not going to believe me. Soon after that, I got married to an active duty military person, and I never told my husband at the time anything about it. That directly impacted our ability to be intimate. It was like, you can't trust men, because men are going to do what they want to do, and they don't listen to you. So I just kind of packed it away. And there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame, because I was like a tough chick. How could I be so strong? And this happened to me.
You have a warrior who enters into the military for that sense of unit, for that sense of trusting their fellow warriors, trusting the military. And when they experience that military sexual trauma, really, I mean, that's betrayal at the most extreme. With some of the warriors who have reached out to the Wounded Warrior Project, what we're hearing is that warrior who's really kept isolated, dealing with fear, shame, not being able to open up and trust anymore, and really being stuck in that.
This is a problem that we have to address. We owe it to any woman or any man who goes into the military that their buddies that they count on are people they count on and not people who they fear. We have to change the culture of the military, which is extremely difficult. And it can't be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It needs to be now. And there's a reason for that. We need people to want to join the military. We need a strong military defense. If we can't guarantee the men and women in their own units that they aren't going to be victims of military sexual assault, we can't guarantee a strong defense.
You know, I had this thought of becoming a career Air Force woman and becoming a senior master sergeant, and they were all out the window, just from that one experience. When it came time for re-enlistment, I was maybe 7 months pregnant with my second son. I knew then I wasn't doing it anymore. But I was married to an active duty military person, and he didn't support me in getting out at all. And that was kind of the beginning of the hints of that this marriage might not work.
When I was like 5, my parents divorced. And then my mom decided to move up here, so we lived with our grandma for a while. It really changed my life.
When you get divorced, you lose a lot. My kids lost a very nice middle-class lifestyle. They lost a house that was their own. They could paint their walls. They lost a yard. They lost a lot.
It was hard, because in the beginning, I got really upset about my parents, and I thought my dad just didn't love me and Manny.
There were times when I really just wanted to die and wanted to just give in and just not care. I was going out and drinking because I was still running away from my problems, trying to not deal with the sexual trauma. And I finally just woke up and understood that this trauma didn't happen to them. They have nothing to do with it. They're really the only reason why I started to have the courage to deal with my stuff, because I'm all they have. If mom goes down, like, we all go down.
Hey, this is Jessica Coulter. I'm calling to touch base on this paperwork about my MST claim. I left you a couple of messages. Do I need to fill this?
I needed to figure out my compensation because we didn't have any money. We didn't have any food. Like, we didn't have a place to live. When I had first gotten out, I had an injury while I had served. So I had some VA disability, but there was nothing in there about the sexual trauma, and it wasn't factored in my rating. I went to the VA to fill out the paperwork, bore my soul and told them everything. And then you wait. And after about a good year of waiting, I get a packet in the mail and they declined it. So I appealed it and they changed my rating based on the injury for my back, but nothing to do with the mental health. Once again, the whole rape wasn't factored into anything. But now I want it in there because it happened to me. So once again, I went through the appeals process, and then one day I get a big packet in the mail. And it is the same exact paperwork that I had filled out in 2009. So I called the coordinator, and she said there's no record of your rape in your file. And then she said the VA, they're going through the process of modernizing now, so they're scanning everything. She assured me that my paperwork was not lost, that it was somewhere, probably in a pile, waiting to be scanned. So I lost my temper. And I said, you need to find my paperwork, because I already did this. It's challenging enough to even get to that point to say I was raped. All the onus is on the victim. And it's insulting that I have to do this again. And it's triggering, because once again, I feel like nobody cares about me. And nobody cares about what happened. And that was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I've called this woman back. I have left her messages once weekly. Haven't gotten a phone call back. The military is just a different way of life. You do have to compartmentalize and put a lot of yourself in a box, and sometimes you have to put that box so far away because mission has to get done. And that's not a natural state of being. Transitioning to civilian life is about trying to take those boxes that you had to put down and slowly start to unpack them. In my case, I needed something that I could do for myself. For me, the most valuable thing out of yoga is that sense of the time to be okay to not do anything. It's not focusing on the things that I went through for 10 minutes, and it's okay. It was challenging at first, but I started to cherish that time of being perfectly still. That was the only point in my life where I could actually feel safe. Meditation allows me to be okay with exactly who I am, as I am, every day. We're gonna go ahead and get started in about probably like 5 to 7 minutes. So sit down, get comfortable. I was still having a very hard time with being a single parent and managing work-life balance. And I told myself, why don't you just teach yoga? And I took the rest of my money out of savings. It's 250 plus hours of training, and I just became a teacher. Because in my mind, I said, well, I could work for myself, be home for my kids. I can live my life on my terms. I'm gonna slowly bring the fingertips to the floor. I've been teaching at the military base for a while, so you get a mix of veterans, active duty, people who've been out for a long time, people who just got out, and then usually like their family members or spouse. So you're teaching to the military family. All we're doing is paying attention, being aware of what it's like to be inside our own body. Where I want to do the majority of my teaching is teaching military folks the benefit of yoga, because they deserve to be able to have a semblance of peace and stillness, because the cost of their service is very high. Inhale, exhale, extend the arms up overhead.
Jessica's great. She's just a wonderful instructor, and just to kind of do yoga with someone who knows maybe what you went through, it's very valuable.
So just bring your chest towards me.
I was a company commander overseeing a transportation battalion that did various truck routes throughout Iraq. We ended up losing 13 soldiers in that battalion during that year, so it definitely took its toll.
Rotate the palms up, extend the arms up overhead.
I had a lot of trouble sleeping when I was over in Iraq, and it's continued on and off. And Jessica would talk a lot about how yoga helped her, both physically and mentally.
Press the leg into the body.
Just to be able to be aware of what your issues are, and then to just clear your mind of them. Focus on your breathing, on balance postures. It's a coping mechanism. It's something you can turn to help you deal with your stresses.
My students are my greatest teachers. Sometimes if I adjust a student or maybe their arm, if I can just ask them to press back and they do it and then I can see them fully relax, then that tells me that sometimes all I need to do is adjust myself and then I can relax. And my favorite part of teaching a class is when everybody is kind of fully relaxed at the end and everybody's in Shavasana, and I'm able to see people just drop down into stillness and thoroughly relax.
I was taking an exam, so that kind of consumed me there.
The stuff that I teach myself on the mat is the stuff I take to my daily life. Oh, well, good for you.
It makes me a better parent.
Yoga makes you
More
very
patient.
I can feel myself when I practice yoga dropping down out of a stressful situation, like beyond my edge. You can stop, take a deep breath, and you can actually relax yourself. That's why everything about my life is yoga. I wouldn't be able to help myself as much as I have been if it wasn't for the Wounded Warrior Project. And so I volunteered to tell my story. And as uncomfortable as it kind of makes me, it's the least I can do. Because they fed my family when we didn't have food. We were able to go to a Christmas event, gave my family Christmas, and we hadn't had Christmas in a long time. They gave my kids some sense of normalcy. Man, you want me to spin you? I'll do what I have to do to make sure that my story of my military service was told in completion. To make me feel like I held this person accountable, my command accountable, because it's a part of my service. It's a part of my story. Ready? All right, you good? Ah, good one. But my life right now, kids and yoga, those are the things that save me, and those are the things that sustain me. What do you mean, where you stop? They don't necessarily understand what happened to me, but they get it. Adults, we're the ones who make ourselves programmed to think that when traumatic events happen to us, we are not affected. But kids understand that when something bad happens to you, you're sad and you hurt and you cry. All right, shoes off, pajamas on, brush your teeth, go get the blankets, go get stuff you want to put down. My youngest son, if he sees me upset, he'll come over and he'll hug me. And he tells me, I give the best hugs. I have a super special hug, and you only get these hugs when you're crying. So that's like the greatest feeling, is knowing that they love me enough that they can comfort me. Go ahead.
My favorite person in the world has to be my mom. She's like the nicest mom ever. She tries to get us everything that we want. She provides food for us. She keeps this house running. Sort of.
That's what we usually do when we make a fort. We just put 4 chairs down and we just put a blanket over it, and that's pretty much all we did. And then we just sit under it and wrap ourselves up in blankets. And then we just go to sleep after we watch TV.
Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2. They're my motivators because it's my responsibility as their mother to make sure that I'm good so that they can have a happy and wonderful life.
I just take all that love, and whenever my mom's hurt, I look out for her. I try and look out for Manny, so we do look out for each other.